Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message, hit the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try enforcing some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and I'm your host this evening. Please let me know before we get too far in this if my microphone is crackling, because if it is, I'm going to run upstairs and I'm going to grab the other microphone and I'm going to chuck the Audio Technica and everything else out the fucking window, because this stuff is getting on my nerves. So guys, you are, again, watching episode number 284 of the Trinity Force Podcast. I am joined by four great guys. First, Horse Doctor is back with us.
Hello, everybody.
This is the haircut edition with Horse Doctor, as he looks fresh and so clean with a little bit of Diet Coke.
Delicious.
DeClaude is here.
Howdy, howdy.
And
I don't have a haircut. I need one, though. I feel like a hippie.
You do need one. You need to kind of trim with the beard a little bit, too.
Nah, I already did that.
Are you going out? Are you going, like, full out for, like No Shave November and everything this year, too?
No. Maybe. I don't know. I did that, but, you know, I found a piece of food stuck in there months later, and I think there was a squirrel, and
You could look like a Viking, though. That's like your favorite. You need to do it. I don't know why.
Actually, I look more like a homeless veteran.
Well, you got the veteran part down at least. And Days, fresh off of the fresh from the doctor. I'm trying to think of something here. She's good to go.
Hey.
So Days, I hear you have some really good news for all our listeners, right?
I'm not prepared. What is the good news for all the listeners?
Well, everybody. Okay, I'm going to put you on. I'm going to call you out here. Everybody knows that you are pregnant, right?
Oh, I am.
I mean, if anybody's been following you for a while on Twitter or following the show, they would know that you're pregnant. That's some reasons you've been missing it, and you found out some really good news this week, and I wanted to share that with everybody who's listening.
So we're having a baby boy, and he's due the 24th of December.
Christmas Eve, baby.
Right.
Yeah, really.
So that's where I get to spend my Christmas.
If she isn't prepared, is the baby named Illidan?
Yes. Days' webcam is not showing up tonight as she is feeling a little bit under the weather, but that's all right because you can still see her lovely face on the screen. Other than that, guys, and Shira's here. Hi, Shira.
What's up? I don't have any big, exciting news, so I just show up like I usually do.
Shira is the rat dad.
Yeah, I have all the rats.
So I had a bunch of announcements like prepared for this week, but then I got really busy because I'm doing a bunch of shit in the background. So like I ain't got time to prep for this goddamn show anymore. I need somebody else to take that for me. First, we had the Brawlers tournament, the Aram draft pick tournament this weekend, and I think we had a total of 6 teams. Horse winning number 1. Because it was open to anybody and everybody. It was draft Aram. And, that went all day from like 3 o'clock and on. And the winners of that will get some Riot RP. And for those of you out there who didn't get RP yet from the last one, just know that Riot takes a really long time to give you the RP and everything. Because there's like hundreds and hundreds of tournaments going on every week. So just give it time. You'll get your stuff. But yeah, that's awesome. So guys, if you can check that out. I remember what it was now. There's even awesomer announcement. Awesomer. If you guys watched the LCS this weekend, who was the star of the LCS? If you say TSM, you're off the show. It was Frank the Tank. And you know why I say Frank the Tank? Because we have a brand new t-shirt over at, what is it? What is the URL? Man.
Teespring.
Teespring. Yes, teespring.com/TForceFrank. That is, we have so if you guys don't know what Frank the Tank is, that is the promoted canon minion. We call him Frank. His name is Frank the Tank.
The t-shirt's so adorable. Oh my god, it's amazing.
I wonder if I can get like a baby onesie and send it to you so you can put the kid in it.
That'd be great. I'll take pictures.
I'm gonna make
everybody needs to buy your t-shirts of command and show off Frank the Tank.
They print it on a Canon printer, according to Claude.
Yep. Yes, they do.
But if you guys
hate that
he
joke.
was the hero of LCS. I really appreciate that. The way you led into that, Adam, because he really was the hero.
Absolutely, he was. He was pushing side lanes. He was taking care of it. Frank was going forward to victory. So if you guys go over to teespring.com/TForceFrank, all one word, TForceFrank, you will see it. You can get a $20 premium tee or a $24 Frank the Tank pop so you can take Frank the Tank and go forward to victory in the gym and get nice and swole with Frank. Guys, go check that out. There are 22 sold as of right now with 17 days left, and I haven't even announced it on the show. You guys can go take care of that. All the proceeds do support the podcast, and those go back to getting us ready for the awesome stuff that's coming up. We got a lot of stuff coming forward, and I'm kind of using this episode a little bit to get you guys going because hopefully we have Summoners Con. That's the other thing I wanted to talk about. One last thing before we get into listener questions. So we said we're going to Summoners Con, but I have a problem, and I'm hoping a listener can help me out with it here. I'm not putting anybody on blast by saying this, but I'm having a very tough time getting correspondence with the people at Summoners Con. I have a contact, and he's contacted me a couple times, but it goes like a month before I get contact again. So if you know the people who run Summoners Con or you have some kind of contact, please put them in contact with me. You can reach me, feedback@trinityforcepodcast.com, because we really want to get in there and just be there somehow in some fashion. I'm happy to pay for flights and pay for attendance and all that kind of stuff and get people there, but if we can run a panel or we can do like the art alley or we can walk around the showroom floor or whatever it may be, we want to be there in some capacity other than just attendees. And I'd really, if you guys know the people from Summoners Con, please get them in contact with me because we're ready to rock Summoners Con this year. That was my big news. It's all out. So
I really want to make it. I hope I can.
I'm hoping everybody can make it. Let's put it that way.
Well, and depending on how everything goes, people get to hang out with drunk Chira, and that's a treat for everybody. So
we would hang out with drunk Days, but that's a little bit difficult.
You can't do that.
Days, I hear if you get drunk, the accent comes out more. Is that true? Did we lose her? We lost her. Oh, well. I just want to make fun of her.
Days down.
Days down.
Days down.
It's hard to tell.
Okay, so we're going to roll right into listener questions. We have a couple in the document, and we have been taking care of the people in the chat. The people in this podcast that is not named Adam have been looking at the chat and writing down listener questions. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So we have them for later in the show. First, I want to touch on... Well, we'll touch on that in the show because we've been waiting for this a while. So Garrett writes in and he says this: I was watching a stream from Night Blue today, and he brought up jungling and how he never relies on teammates. He talked about how, though it is a team game, you need to carry the game and focus primarily on yourself. My question is, what are your thoughts on this? You mentioned in the past that you dislike the mindset of playing solo queue and trying to carry all on your own, but what are your thoughts on Night Blue's comments, and can you elaborate on what he said with your own opinion? Maybe someone said what is true, and he's true with the changing meta. Sincerely, Cardinal. Does anyone want to take that first?
So in my last Masters promotion game, I actually got to play against Night Blue, and his top laner pretty much AFK'd because he did this to him. So clearly it doesn't work all the time, and you do need to not put people on tilt and not take their farm and tax them constantly. And at the end of the day, it still is a team game. This might work for smurfing or something, but
I haven't really watched Night Blue stream, so I don't know about his personality, but based on what he's saying there, I can kind of see what he means, because, we've said it in the past, focus on what you can control, and you can control what you can do. So if you're focusing on yourself and less on what everyone else is doing, as long as you're still communicating with pings and things, I guess I can see more success that way than expecting your team to pick up the baton and carry you on.
Something to keep in mind when you're watching a lot of these streamers they are master level streamers, generally speaking, and they have a master levels mindset because the game definitely plays differently at masters and diamond and platinum and gold and silver and yada yada yada, right? The game plays differently each rank. So when you go in with the mindset of I have to carry this game, you need to be confident in your ability to carry the game, and you need to know how to do that under the conditions that you're playing in. Because carrying the game as a silver player is different than playing the game as a master levels player. Right. Because carrying the game as a master levels player could mean 1 kill. Carrying the game as a silver level player could mean 10 kills, for example. And that's something I try to tell people when I'm doing replay reviews.
It's a style, and there are a lot of people in high elo that play a different style. Like the guy who was on 4 wards and Kank, he plays a very calculated style, and he's higher than Night Blue right now. Night Blue's very high as well, and he plays more of a traditional solo queue style. And there are people who play gank heavy styles, and you just have to be good at what you do. You can be really good. Night Blue's really good, and he does something different than what I do, and I'm also pretty good as well. But if you play that style, it comes down to resource allocation. And if you're taking a lot from your teammates and you aren't actually doing anything with it, you're gonna have a lot of games where you get fed and you just don't win.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Don't take the farm, just take the farm. Use it.
I was gonna say the biggest takeaway is if you're gonna do something, just be the best you can at it.
Yeah.
What
You
are
have to
we,
be good at
G.I.
what you
Joes
do.
here? Are we the all-American heroes? Be the best you can be?
Yep. The old army motto: "Be all that you can be."
Right.
And not just be good at what you're doing, but know why you're doing it. Because you need to adjust to each game, and there are going to be games you have to play differently than others.
I think it's important to note, we've mentioned it in the past as well, know how to be carried as well. So based on your champion and the role that you fill, know how to support the one who is carrying and how to let them carry you and help them carry you.
Yeah, how many times have we said if that Corky is bottom lane push on himself, go meet the Corky and push with him because you can't impart your will on anybody else in the game.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think we've repeated that ad nauseum at this point, but really what he's saying is that if you have the kills and the know-how, use it to your advantage and push the game. I will say, watching Horse's game, his final Masters game, I watched it from both Night Blue stream and I'm a Cutie Pie stream because he was playing. Horse was on I Am a Cutie Pie's team and Night Blue was on the opposite team. And what was it? Night Blue got into a argument with the top lane Xin Zhao over stealing the golems, and so Xin Zhao decided, fuck you, I'm doing my own thing at this point. So Night Blue was on his own because he wasn't playing as a team because he pissed somebody else off in the game.
And I was beating the Zen in lane, and when you lose lane as a top laner, like one of the most effective things you can do is take golems so you stay relevant in gold and EXP, and Night Blue is just kind of like, oh, I need these golems more than you. I can't do something else. And I'm not a huge fan of that.
Excuse me.
I feel like Sated just reinforces that type of behavior, though.
Yup.
Yeah.
We saw the same thing when they, like, with all of those sort of stacking potential jungle items, that it, not necessarily that was the situation why, but it seems to come out at, like, a lower level, too, where you'll end up seeing that item built and people just start being like, well, this is my game, I have to farm everything because it's my jungle and I need my stacking items stacked before anybody else can do anything.
But you know what? Sated changes how I play as well when I'm not jungling, because I will see that they're going Devour or Sated, they're playing that champion, and I'll usually say, hey, mind if I take these? I'll ask permission first or I won't take it, because I know they're trying to get the stacks, and the faster they get Sated, the faster, hopefully, they can carry.
The other way that it impacts your team, though, is if somebody gets behind. Like, how long have we told people, like, if you get behind lane, if you can't stand under tower because you're going to get dove, then, like, leave lane, try to impact somewhere else, ask if you can take some camps or something like that so you keep up and farm. And then now, all of a sudden, you have nothing to farm. Like, you have to let them take your towers so you can freeze. And that gives a lot of map pressure to them. So that's another way that impacts it, too. It's all about knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it and being, like Horse said, you got to be good at what you're doing.
Yeah, and to the Zen guy who left the game, next time just mute. Oh, he didn't?
Yeah, I know he played the whole thing. He just did his own thing all game. Like, he stayed top.
Oh.
He didn't really try to teleport for team fights.
Let me get some solo kills.
He got thrown on tilt, so he needs to just mute people more, because if what people type to you makes you play differently, worse, or makes you troll, then you need to mute everybody.
Right. Well, we did say we were going to answer some listener questions, and we're going to answer listener questions that come to the chat. Were there any before the one that I see here that you guys picked up? Days?
No, I haven't really seen many.
No.
Well, I do want to answer Andrews here, because there is a point that Dead Man's Plate is now live. In Dead Man's Plate, I don't have the stats in front of me. I just know it is a walking stacking item for tanks that discharges electric charges after it reaches 100. I don't actually have the stats in front of me. I don't have the item in front of me. I just know it's a walking stacking item that discharges. It does damage. I think it's at the first time you attack, it discharges the charges, whatever stacked up on it, and does damage based on the number of charges that has been stacked.
So what is it? It's a static shiv like thing?
It's a static shiv.
I will
It's
read
it's
exactly
a defensive
what it
static
says.
shiv.
You build momentum stacks while moving up to 100, granting up to 60 bonus movement speed. Momentum rapidly decays while under immobilizing crowd control effects and decays slowly while you're slowed.
So far, static shiv.
Right. The next piece is Crushing Blow. Crushing Blow. Basic attacks discharge all momentum, dealing 1 bonus physical damage for every 2 momentum. If 100 stacks are discharged, the damage is doubled, and if you are a melee attacker, the target will also be slowed by 75%, which decays over 1
So you
second.
do 400 damage with it? It's 2 for 1 that's doubled, so it becomes 4 to 1. if you're
You
melee.
get 1 bonus damage for every 2 momentum, so it's 1 damage per 2
50.
momentum.
Oh.
And it stacks.
So
Yeah,
it's
it
so
does
it's
a
100
maximum.
100 damage.
Yeah, it does 100 damage.
What's the
Like static
wait,
shiv.
what are the base stats on it again?
Base stats: 600 health, 55 armor.
And
Okay.
it builds out
So it's
of.
Static Shiv, just
Builds out
and
of Chain Vest and Giant's Belt.
It's good. Like right
Okay.
now, if you
Over.
want armor and health, you have to build randomins in the top lane, and you really don't want to rush randomins. A lot of what you're paying for is the active and team fight stats. This is like an effective item tanks can actually rush in the top lane that gives them damage
Trade
to
potential.
trade. It gives them armor. It gives them health. Like rushing health items is not bad. It's actually pretty good. The problem we've always had is the health items kind of stink to rush, like Warmogs and Randuins. And if there's actually a health item that's good to rush, that's a huge buff.
I think this is a huge buff to Shen, because Shen against a lot of those would rush, usually rush the Sunfire Cape, because you get the early Ruby Crystal and then roll into some armor, and he would have his Sunfire Cape to walk up there and be able to push the wave back. But being able to effectively trade with Shen, you can do that 1 to 4, and then if you're ahead, you continue to do it. And dependent, I mean that really is it's dependent. I'm not going to go through it all and kind of talk. It's more or less matchup dependent with Shen, but between key strikes, the extra damage on his passive, and the damage by walking around and moving through that lightning strike, I think this is a huge buff to Shen. And he's already got a buff in the last couple patches. I like this item to rush on him.
I can't wait to try it on Scion.
The momentum thing's pretty big too. Right now, you can kind of ignore a lot of tanks, especially if you think about like a Garen or a Sion kind of. As long as you never let them get in range of you, and you don't have to like use spells on them. The way this momentum mechanic works is it continues to charge until you get CC'd. So now you have to waste CC on a tank, which is also a buff because that's what tanks want to happen. They want to eat
Right.
spells.
And it gives those extra tanks that's a slow they may not have. Somebody, I'm going to use Shen for an example. Shen,
If they're ignored.
even if they're not, they get slowed because it discharges whatever you have and slows them. Right? It works with any number of stats, or it only work at 100 stacks. I would assume it only works at 100 stacks.
I think it only works at 100.
Yeah,
it says if 100 stacks are discharged,
Okay.
the damage is doubled, and if you're melee, the target will also be slowed
We
by
slowed
75.
75.
And if they're CC'd, you stop stacking until the duration of the CC.
Well, if you're CC'd, it starts to decay. Yes.
Okay.
It decays
So, like-
rapidly if you're if you're immobilized, or if you're slowed, then it slowly decays.
So you would still need max stats to get the slow off. So like basically it punishes somebody for not getting stacks off a tank if you just let your tank walk up to a target of opportunity and slow them.
Can it crit?
I have no idea.
Probably not.
Probably won't ever find out.
Static shift can crit. Why can't that crit?
1% crit rune. See it crit.
Yeah.
Have you ever found out if Ludens can crit?
No, I've never
Probably
tried.
the same thing. You're probably never gonna find out if this can crit.
I'm sure Ludens can crit because it makes the GP, right? Because so there's people are like 5% crit a GP, AP GP for shits and giggles. Because
Is it
Ludens can
physical
crit.
damage?
Yeah, because Ludens can crit. I remember. I remember talking about this.
No, the only reason Ludens could crit was because Runeglaive
Right.
made the Q, which already like was AD, it swapped that to magic damage, which then the Q would have to crit.
Right.
But now that they changed Runeglaive, Q can no longer crit on GP anymore, so Ludens is not critting.
Right. I know. Okay. Yeah.
After
Old
the change,
Ludens could
Ludens does not crit. Beforehand, Ludens kind of crit with Runeglaive.
Oh, that's funny. I like this item. I like this rushing this item on a lot of tanks. I don't think you're going to see much rush out of the jungle, but it's definitely the top lane. The top lane item. So I was moving this in here because the question was, wait, where was the question? We've had so much talking. Do you think the stacking jungle items promote a toxic gameplay style? That's what it reminded me of. So Devour, does the Devour or any other stacking jungle item promote a toxic gameplay style?
If played poorly, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of dependent on the mindset of the person who's picking it up, because like you can see it on certain people who play it. Like certain people will play jungle Shyvana with it and they'll do really, really well, and they'll power farm what they need to, but they also know what they need to do to win the game. And then you'll see somebody like, and you can swap places with these two champions, but like that Master Yi, who he's never gonna do anything else other than farm that thing until he has it stacked, because he feels obligated to stack it because it stacks. So like, I don't want to say item is innately bad, but like the item promotes a mindset or a mentality when you get in the game. If the person doesn't know how to use it properly, that is innately bad.
Do you know what the dream is? The dream is buying Devours and going like 3-0-3. Finish it because it gets assists, and when you get those kills in mid and bot, you get Dragon. So you're stacking it even faster. You've gotten that Dragon, you're 3-0-3, you won early game. You're also finishing your second and third items faster to synergize with that Devourer more quickly. Like, if you can get ganks, in all intents and purposes, it's better than farming on Devourer. So you should always look for them. Like, you shouldn't just tunnel. But, I mean, sometimes you do have to tunnel. It just... That's why I said if played poorly.
Depends how the lanes are doing, too.
And I mean, taking crab gets you a lot of stacks. I mean, getting vision for your team, like it gets you two. That's pretty big. So giving vision to your team is important. Also, I think it comes down to like if you had like a toxic playstyle before, where you were just like, I'm not even sure what that means, because any playstyle can be effective. Right. Unless you're actually raging at people and being toxic, there's no real toxic play style. You just have to be good at what you do and justify it and know why you're doing it. But if you're going to use like a solo queue play style, which is what most people refer to as toxic out of the jungle, and like you just farm and things like that, then this is going to reinforce that. All it is going to make, if you have that toxic play style, it's going to make this more evident in you, because now you have a reason to justify it, and you can just literally tell your lanes, I'm not coming to you, this is why.
If you just look at it in time spent too, getting a kill in a lane and then taking Dragon is 6 stacks, and that takes about as long as farming like your blue side jungle and getting 3. So, and you get a lot more gold and a Dragon doing that. So why would you ever just farm if the gank was actually there?
Well, because people in lower elos, if they're not effective at ganking, if they don't, if they haven't put the time into learning how to gank properly and to get the kills, then to them that is wasted time because they didn't get anything out of it. Or they blew a flash and they don't consider that worthwhile, or something of that nature. Or people will
think that because of the way that the stats line up on that item, it's not as great for ganking, so they immediately throw that out the window because they don't understand how the item actually stacks.
I'm going to turn this into a little bit of a jungle conversation now, because we may have mentioned this in the past, but it's relevant to the conversation, and that's speaking to Daze's point about flashes being burned and other ganks that are deemed unsuccessful. And we've talked about timers in the past, right? To be a successful jungler, you need to keep timers of everything that could affect a gank. For any point, anything that could affect you as a jungler, that could affect a ganking opportunity or could affect a counter jungling opportunity, you need to keep a minder of that time in your head. And even if it's Dragon, you still need to keep that minder in your head, without pressing tab. I bring this up because if you gank bottom lane and you blow a flash, unless it's a support, let's say it's AD carry, you have 5 minutes to get back down there and try to gank them again. You have 5 minutes of potential opportunity to gank that person again. Top lane, mid lane, whatever the flash is. So now even though I have Devour, I have 5 minutes. I've blown that flash, I can go back, I can buy, I can get a camp, I can get that next level, I can get a camp or two, get another level, I can go get red, I can go get blue, whatever, time of the game it is. And then I can go right back to that lane and try to camp it again. Or I could gank it, walk away, make it look like I'm going to a camp, come back and gank it again. Because anytime that they're not farming or they're not getting CS, or anytime they're not farming or getting experience, is time that the person on your team has a chance to get ahead. They have a chance to gain a lead on that enemy.
There are apps for that too, for people who just aren't reminded or get too absorbed in the game. You could just touch a button and you touch the enemy flash, and it's on a timer and it'll warn you when it's getting close. To remind you. So whatever tools you need to use in the beginning to get used to it.
But keep timers. Timers are huge. I've been finding ward timers the biggest for me.
The biggest thing I'd give like a beginner jungler, if you just kind of want to work on this and you want a really easy example, if you get a flash pre-6, by the time you get your ultimate, that flash is still down. And Jarvan's like the example I always give people. Let's say you're playing Jarvan and you gank mid at level 3 and you get flash. Your level 3 or level 4 is almost always less than 5 minutes until you're 6. And you just come back to that lane at 6 and kill them. I mean, it's not... You don't have to come right back. You don't have to come back. But just understanding that it actually is 5 minutes. And usually if you're getting it pre-6, you just come back with ult and kill them.
Never thought about it that way. That's pretty cool.
Well, like, if you think about...
Never realized you'd hit 6 before that came back.
At level 3 or level 4, it's usually 3 or 4 minutes. And by the time you hit 6, it's usually between 7 and 8-ish. So you usually have a window of like 1 or 2 minutes in there.
I haven't played jungle in a long time, but you used to be able to like farm a camp and use your F keys to like look at your lanes to check on how they were and if people were blowing flashes and stuff. Can you still kind of like AFK farm those camps while you pay attention to your lane, or do you need to do more kiting and things like that now?
This is kind of where champion mastery comes in, and there are a lot of advantages you get from playing a champion a ton, but once you've played a champion a lot, you don't have to AFK and look at those camps as much, and you can actually cycle through because you have the muscle memory and you're confident and you know how much health you're gonna take and when you need to be tabbing back to click those abilities and stuff like that. Whereas if you're playing a new champ, you really do have to tunnel on those camps. So It just depends how comfortable you actually are farming them.
And to know what you're looking for, because if you don't feel comfortable, if you've always, because like everyone learns how to play the game a certain way, and if you don't feel like unlearning or learning something new with the F keys, and you're like me and you just kind of click on people with your button, you need to know what you're looking for when you click, and you need to be looking for posturing, cooldowns being used, how many minions the enemy
minions
has.
are pushed. Yeah,
all those little things you know to look for those, and they. This is kind of like where the psychology comes into it, because I don't know how to explain it, but you put it in that stored memory bank. You don't think about it; it just you know what to look for subconsciously when you're clicking.
One other really good thing to look for is if there is a big fight bot lane, or in other lanes too, but bot lanes usually this is more likely to happen. Usually summoners are gone. It's very, very hard to get kills bot lane without using summoners. So if you see that your bot lane dies, you can assume that even if they don't remember, if you ask them their summoners and they don't respond, somebody's probably missing summoner spells to some extent. And if your lane just got killed, the other lane's also likely to push on them again. So like when my bot lane dies, one of the first things I think about is like, that lane's going to push on them without summoners now. Like, I need to go there.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question. We talk about jungling quick a bit. I want to bring this up since it is a little more about jungling. In chat, he came up with, I am Silver 4 jungle main. When I started playing, I got out of bronze with tanky junglers like a Moo. Now in Silver 1, I struggle to carry games with tanks, and Devour junglers like Kale are much more attractive because they can do a lot of damage. What's the best way to successfully play tanks now that Cinderhulk got nerfed? Chira?
I don't even think Cinderhulk got that much of a nerf. Like, it's still a good item. I hate it when people consider that worse than other options just because it may have eaten a little bit of a change. Otherwise, I would suggest that you pay more attention to when certain enemy junglers can do certain things that you potentially can't as a tank jungler. If you're a tank jungler who can gank really well, you may want to focus on ganks, but you may want to be aware that if enemy jungler is able to counter gank at the exact same time, you may be on the bad end of a 2v2 that you guys don't have the damage to win. With the Devourer jungle stuff, there's certain champions to look out for early more so than others, and if you can get some decent team, like if you can get some vision in the enemy jungle, you might be able to mitigate some of their ability to farm if they're just power farming, particularly at lower elo, where again we see more people, instead of doing that whole like, let's take advantage of all the stacks we could get by ganking bot lane and then going for dragon. Even in gold, you'll see people try and power farm because they're playing with Devourer. I had the crabs. Yeah, I love taking crabs
from Devourer
as many
junglers.
times as you can.
Yeah, that's going to be a point of contention. Hopefully, you alert your other lanes to the crab as well, because that sated Devourer farmer is probably going to be looking for crabs. Because
I don't know if you should be alerting the people the fact that you have crabs.
The jokes. I knew as soon as we said take the crabs, you were going. Anybody was going to say something.
You know.
So you're saying it's better to not tell the person?
I feel like
I'm telling you, it's better to find a razor and shave it all off so you don't have crabs anymore. Okay.
I feel like if Sotir was here, he'd bring up crab salad.
Oh God, please don't.
Let's
not. No, we can't. We're not. No.
So
Days,
just for Sotir.
Days, you know my situation right now.
Absolutely,
That is
best part about that whole thing is that anybody who has no idea what we're talking about with the
I
crab
know.
salad because they just started listening recently is gonna think some very, very
Vile.
things that have nothing to do with the thoughts that they're thinking.
God, that's
So-
like a 3-year-old joke. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Oh, I can answer this question shortly. And if you want a good answer, check out the Champion Select podcast. The new episode's actually a really
Very
good
solid.
way to explain this. But like the short answer is look for ganks. As long as your early game is close, tanks scale really well. Sometimes you don't have the crazy games you might have in a carries, but you're always effective and you do your job. And you don't mess up your team comp as much too, which is kind of something to think about. But look for ganks and then get good wards in the other guy's jungle and just shut them down. Like, if you ward their wraiths consistently and you have that information for your team and you're playing a tank, it's way harder for them to play a carry jungler.
Well, I mean,
And just small stuff like that.
not only do you know the position where they're at, but then if they are picking up an item like Devour and they are trying to go get a killer assist to end up picking up more stacks, it gives more potential for your ally or yourself to not die to it, so you're not giving them the stacks anyway.
And for those players who came on after the update, he means the Raptors.
Oh, my bad.
I think
what
the
Conway's do.
jungle, more than a lot of other roles, really suffers. Like, anytime a champion gets nerfed, people just assume they're bad, and they're not necessarily. But I feel like the whole jungle meta changes like that in like an excessively drastic way on little tweaks and items, because
Like
then
you
all of a
said,
sudden
Johnny.
one
Well,
is
it's not-
viable and then another is not,
The rise
and
and
it's not
fall said-
necessarily the case.
It's not just little tweaks in items. It's like any change to a champion to ends up throwing some weird imbalance in the jungle. And since the jungling does so much to potentially interact with every other lane if it's done appropriately, like one small change goes a long way for everywhere else, because like that position is about influencing the map. So like if you see a change between tank junglers or between carry junglers, like let's look at some of last season or one of the seasons where like higher damage Elise or Kha'Zix was really, really popular. We saw Rengar and then it moved into tanks, and now you might see a few more Devourer jungles at lower elo or whatever, but little changes go a much longer way in the jungle than almost any other position. And that it kind of in top lane it works too, because a lot of the champs are interchangeable between top and jungle. But go ahead, Horse.
The jungle's probably like the most balanced it's ever been, in all honesty.
I
And
like it
solo
right now.
queue,
It's so much
right
fun.
now. If I were to take the top 10 champions and put them on a list, I kind of just did it in my head really quickly. I have 2 Cinderhulk champions, 2 champs that can build Cinderhulk, and one builds Warrior and one builds the Magus, not Magus anymore, Runeglaive, and that's Elise and Rek'Sai. Then you have a Warrior champion, Lee Sin. You have a couple of Magus champions like Elise and Nidalee. You have Devourer champions like Kayle and Shyvana Hurlish. I mean, there's literally 2 or 3 champions that build everything in the top 10. I mean, all of the jungle archetypes are good. And, like, for somebody who's been jungling since Season 2, this is probably the first time ever. I don't know. That's my opinion on it, but...
This has been the most
Does seem more
variety out of the
diverse.
jungle in a very long time.
Yeah.
Well, let's move from jungle talk now that we're about a half an hour or so into the podcast. Let's move over to support talk a little bit, because I've been playing it, and I know there's a couple questions in chat about support, and I want Daze to talk a little bit too. So the question came in, and he asked, what have you been building on Sona recently? Is it still the Sight Zone with the second part of Frost Queens and the Sheen, if ahead, or a support item behind? And also, what do you think is strong right now other than Mikhail's? So I'll let Daze talk about her Sona stuff, and then we can talk into what supports should be itemizing and why.
Well, I pretty much build support items on her. I typically don't upgrade to Frost Fang unless I really know that I want Frost Queen's claim later, because it's not cost efficient to upgrade it if you're not going to get the active of the item later on. Mikhail's is kind of a no-brainer. I don't build it nearly as much as I should, but it's really important. It's great, not only for like its CC removal, but also for its sustain. And then you want to look at the team. I mean, it's so situational. We covered it a lot in the Nami episode of the Champion Select podcast, but it depends on the makeup of the enemy team and who on your team is pretty fed. But you typically end up going either Randuin's, Frozen Heart, Locket, some combination of those. You always have to get Sightstone. Your first item that you complete should be Sightstone, and then you typically want to get Boots, and then you want to build into a defensive item. The other items, like the Zeeks and the Ardent Sensor and all of those, like those are fluff items. Like maybe if you get to 6th item and you're not dying a ton and your teammates aren't dying a ton, then maybe you can do it to close out a game. But it's really, they're incredibly situational. I haven't built one of them in a very, very long time. As far as AP items, they stopped working in Plat. They were great. Like I used them a lot in like lower elos to kind of crush and climb my way up, but they lose their effectiveness. And I see some people still that are masters or diamond that build Sheen on Sona and things like that. But you really, really, really have to know what you're doing with them. You have to be very careful about how you're positioning. And it's one of those builds that, yes, you personally will do a little bit more damage, but keeping your teammate alive who does a lot more damage than you is 99% of the time more effective and more important to the actual success of your team. So
one important thing too, if you do look up pro players builds, and as someone who plays high elo, there are a lot of people who, when they don't get the role they want to play, they aren't salty, but they don't take it as seriously. And when you look at pro builds, make sure that the person actually mains the role. Like there are a lot of high elo players, if they get stuck on support, they're gonna build full AP Vel'Koz. Mm-hmm. Not that full AP Vel'Koz is bad, but they're certainly not taking the game as seriously,
even if they win.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does affect your team. Like your ADC dying because you don't have Mikhails or you don't have Locket or Frozen Heart or something like that is way more detrimental to your team than, if you don't do extra damage. You're not expected to. Like your job is to have map awareness, to ward really well, to make sure that your team stays alive, to make calls. Like that's your job. If you do those things well, that's how you'll be successful.
Yeah, your goal is to provide some sort of utility to your team. And that can go through, and that's utility. Generally speaking, is utility through knock-up suppression, silences, etc., and not through damage. That is a viable way to work it through some elos and some ways to play the game. But again, Dace just kind of went over the whole reason of why it stopped working.
Yeah, and the biggest reason I used to build Sheen when I was like doing promos and coming up through silver and gold was, or not promos, but placements, is because the laning phases were very, very extended. But you don't see that much anymore. Like you take towers, you move on, you go somewhere else. So by the time you build something like Sheen and you have a Sightstone and you have boots, you're out of lane. And then if you're in the front line and you're trying to get those procs off, you're not doing anything. You're dying. So it's just not a practical item as a whole, I feel.
Guess it depends on who you have too, right? Like your carry. If you're just gonna be a poke, nightmare aggressive poke lane down and bottom, depending on who you're fighting against, if you can take advantage of that.
But again, if you're staying in lane that long after you've built all those items, you're not putting pressure on the rest of the map somewhere. And Sona has, like, if you're good to Sona has enough poke early to frustrate anybody.
You can play that way without the items, right?
Right, exactly. You'll still push people out of lane. You'll still irritate the hell out of people. You can still poke under tower. Like you don't, and your Q's an auto attack reset. So you auto Q auto. That's a lot of poke right there. You don't necessarily need an item for that.
My biggest issue with like Sheen on Sona is none of the Sheen items seem very good to me. The reworked Lichbane is percentage base AD, which most supports don't have a lot of unless you're like Alistar or Blitzcrank. And then it's like percentage bonus AP, which you don't want to be building 4 AP items in Sona, you'll get one shot. And I almost, when I tell people if they really want to build an AP item on a support, I like Luden's Echo better. Like it's 100 base. It doesn't matter if you have 0 other AP items. Mm-hmm. And it has move speed, which is nice in supports too. But
yeah.
Yeah, being able to reposition yourself very quickly to get off that extra.
Yeah, I was about to say the move speed's as appealing as anything else on the item.
Most support items are pretty standard. Like no matter what support you play, there are some exceptions. There's like Zyra. There's champions like that. But most of the time, you just need to understand the item. You need to understand who to buy it against and who to buy it for, and then you need to know how to play around it. Like you need to rely way more on your knowledge than you do on your damage output.
Yeah, it does come down more to the macro play style and understanding what's going to come next in that whole chess game that we've talked about in the past. I'm going to move back to the document here to answer a couple questions that came in. So Jesus Bound wrote in, and he said, I wanted to ask you guys about the best possible 4-man comp if the 5th guy in your team picks a champ that really, really wants to split push. Well, before I get any further, I'm going to say that we can't answer this question properly because there is no best possible ideal 4-man comp to go around a split push guy in solo queue. Because
if there was, Jesus.
If there was a way for you to pick what the other 3 people were playing and make them play that to the best of their ability or to the best of their mastery, then it wouldn't be solo queue, it'd be arranged 5s.
Then let's answer it for arranged 5s.
You can give a shorthand for solo queue. Something that's good at AFKing on tower and not dying.
Yeah. He says, let's say the first guy.
Disengage are good.
Wave clear. There you go.
That's pretty much it. He says
having a
jungle
disengage
Udyr
support is a
or
good
Trin
idea
top.
too.
Yeah.
Get Ziggs.
Yeah, pretty much get
It's not a
Ziggs.
4-man comp. It's a Ziggs man comp.
Ziggs, Janna.
Vel'Koz.
That way, if they do 5-man dive you, like one of the best
Victor.
ways to
They
deal
won't
with
have
this.
minions.
Yeah, they won't have minions to eat those extra tower shots. They'll have to eat that first or second tower shot that comes in after the initial burst.
Make them more hesitant. Give your split pusher more time.
Yeah, that's really the only thing you can do if you have somebody that's just say I'm split pushing all game, is to pick stuff that can wave clear and you can hold 4-man, or that you can. Yeah, it's wave clear. That's what it comes down. I was gonna say suppress and kill, but that's too hard to do in a solo team.
There's another note to this. When I'm playing solo queue, and Trinity is a little more popular in solo queue now, and I see a split pusher on my team like Trinity, I usually try and pick something that's good at ganking early, or if I haven't picked something that's good at ganking early, I try and give their lane more attention. Because if you do have a good ganking jungler and you give them like a kill or 2 early game, it goes a long way.
Let them do their split pushing thing earlier.
You get them
put
fed.
that pressure on them.
Let them put the pressure on the map so that you don't have as much pressure on you to take other towers, and you do your own style of split pushing, I guess, or your own type.
If they can 2v1, your job gets a lot easier.
Yeah.
Especially when you can ignore them. Just let them do what they do.
I feel like one of the best things you can do if you have someone that likes to split push on your team is to understand split pushing and how your team needs to react around it. Because it's not necessarily sit back at your second tier tower while they push. So you really have to understand it a lot, and that's something that takes a lot of experience playing like with it and against it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question that came in the chat that we're not going to talk about because he said, what do you think about Garen and Darius? We're going to roll back around to the Juggernaut changes. He specifically asked about the Juggernaut changes. We're going to roll back around to the Juggernaut changes shortly. We did say that today we were going to talk about armor and magic resist, but we had a rather hectic weekend, and that's why we're doing listener questions today instead. Moving on to the next one is, what are the things you should look back on after you finish a ranked game? And I'd like to specifically take this and talk about this because I have been having a conversation with a friend of ours about pretty much this specific topic. And that's, you finished a ranked game, and now what do I do? Well, something that I'm going to be start doing, I should say, going to be start because I haven't played in a couple days, is that I'm going to look at my attitude first and foremost. What am I feeling after that ranked game? Anxious, upset, happy, joyful, whatever, and write all my feelings down, and then go through what happened in that game and try to figure out why I'm at that point. Like, I'm going to always take 2 or 3 minutes or more after each game and stop and think, what happened in that game and what could I have done to make that outcome different? Or is there anything I could have done? Or did I, what did I do to feel this way? And it could just be something as easy as I didn't position myself very well in laning phase. So now my goal for my next game, instead of winning the game, my goal becomes position myself better in lane. And then if I finish that goal, I can pick a new goal. And all these little goals, as I go through it and I start to reflect on it after each game, eventually lead up to winning more and more games because I'm doing all those little goals better with each game that I focus on them. Does that make sense? Did I explain that well enough?
Yeah, I think so. I think also it's going to be hard for people to tackle the mentality of, because this guy fed. or because this lane lost hard, or because both my solo lanes lost. It's okay to reflect on that, but how does that help you improve what you're going to do the next game when they're not there? You know, like, and it's just going to frustrate you. Yeah, exactly. So I guess it's if that's your answer, you need to keep asking that question to get a different answer that's you can affect the next game. Are there matches where you think you do everything right based on what you have, and it only went south because of somebody else? It could be. Yeah, it could be that kind of game where something like that happened, or you had an AFK, or you had someone who became toxic and trolled. Was it because you said something? Did you do the ... Did you pull an eye blue and make someone troll? I guess those are things you could ask yourself. I find it hard to resist the urge to hit the play again button, right away, and I need to get the taste of that bad match out of my mouth, because I'm already kind of, upset that I lost that match if I lost the ranked game, and I want to get it. Oh, I want to forget about it, and the only way to forget about it is to win the next one. But the problem is you're bringing your baggage from that game into your next one, so I have to try to train I like what Adam's saying, and I think I need to start doing that too if I can play more than a couple matches a night.
I'll send you the sheet, because I've been using it for Hearthstone recently, because I've been able to play a lot more Hearthstone than I have been able to play League, because the matches are like that.
Well, then it doesn't kill you if you have to go and you're not.
Oh no, I just all
making anybody else. Yeah, you're not making anybody else suffer if you have to leave. So
right. If I've been in ranked games and I've just been like all to 4 and I walked away. I just don't care that much about it as much as I do about.
And this is in Hearthstone.
Wow, troll.
Right. Well,
okay.
yeah, it's 1v1. It's not that. No, but like that thing's been helping me recently, because in the last 5 days, I've only been able to play Hearthstone. I haven't been able to play League, right? And I've been writing down, how do I feel? Why do I feel this way? What could I have done? And usually it's something stupid. Like, what's funny is, I know this isn't a Hearthstone podcast, but I'll make a move, and I'll realize when I'm done, and I go, as soon as I do it, I go, fuck.
I love...
like, I'm so mad at myself, because I knew better than that, but I don't take my time because I just want to play fast.
Or you'll make the one move that, like, you could have made an extra move that you didn't see, or because you were just trying to rush the round or whatever. Like, and that goes for, like, not just Hearthstone, but that's League too. Like, if you're looking into doing certain things, sometimes it is better to rush. Other times it's better to take a breath and think about it before you do it.
How many times have we said, hold on to that Amumu ult, hold on to that Malphite ult, hold on to that Soraka zone that silences and roots everybody. Don't just drop it down right at the beginning of the fight as it starts. Wait for people to pile up. Like, you can hold a spell for 3 seconds in a team fight. That feels like forever in the middle of a team fight, but that 3 seconds could be the difference between people actually grouping up and you only hitting one person.
But on the flip side, don't die with your cooldowns already.
Yeah, don't do that either.
Am I the only one who gets a kick out of, like, Adam blogging his feelings after League games?
I
just find that incredibly amusing. I can't picture you like writing your feelings out. Like, Malphite made me really sad.
What I find more interesting than all of that is that Adam has any feelings at all.
Right?
By the way, since we're talking about Chris, he should rap, because then it would be shrink rap.
Oh, well,
I had to throw it out there.
I do.
Well, I was going to lose it if I didn't say it. So
okay, Dave, you say that about the feeling thing. We're gonna take a jog down Adam lane right now. So Adam is pretty much a father at this point. I'm taking care of 2 children. They're living with me now. I've got a girlfriend that's living with me, right? So I've got a family. I'm like, it's instant family. Just add water.
Sorry for them.
I know, right? So tonight we went to the meet the parents there, or meet the teacher at their new school, and we sat there and listened to what all they had to say. They're going to lunch at this time, and Mary and I both walked away, and I said, Mary, is it bad that if I don't really care what they do at school? I mean, as long as they get their homework done and they learn, good. She goes, no, I feel the same way. Just go to school and get your stuff done. You're okay. We'll make sure you get it done. And that's why that whole conversation made me laugh, because
I know. My son's grades put me on tilt sometimes.
Oh no, I'm sure if he walks back with a C, I'm gonna be like, we're sitting down and taking care of this, and I'm gonna sit down and do it, homework with the kid. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't really care that the kid's doing social studies between 10 and 11 o'clock. Just tell me the kid's fucking doing social studies, math, gym, art, and whatever else, and we're good.
Sure, as long as the grades are there.
Right.
Back to what Adam was saying earlier about the goals, like, that's really important. I've been setting like 3 goals in my duo also. where we've each had our own 3 goals for a game, and we've had the same ones for about like 2 or 3 weeks now, and it's incredibly helpful if you can just focus on 3 things for that game. And they were silly things. One of his was like, when I bought my sight zone, his goal, he was going to switch out his trinket. And simple things like that help you throughout the game, but keep you focused. And then when we master those, then you can take one away and add one to it. But it's like learning anything else. Like, you have to make baby steps in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, the way it was explained to me with those goals is that every team that, like an NBA team that has to win the championship, they have to win how many games in between. They have to win how many games in the finals. But there's little things they have to do during those games. They have to hit. They have to try to hit all of their free throws. So their goal could be, I'm going. If I'm going to hit 2 of my 3 field goal shots, because that's all I normally get in a game. I average 3 shots. I'm going to hit 2 or 3 of those. And every goal that you set and hit brings you one step closer to that world championship. Same thing here with you. Your world championship is gold. Your world championship is platinum. Your world championship is diamond, whatever it may be. So you need to think of little baby steps to use and to give yourself a better understanding of how the game is playing. Rather than my goal of winning, my goal is to get better at the game, because as you get better, winning just happens.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the end screen and see if you upgraded your trinket. That's the first thing to do. Because if you
there was somebody in Platt the other day who said that they swear the reason they got the Platt was because we yelled at them to upgrade their trinket.
Yeah.
Could have very well.
This is something I actually did a video on a while ago, and like, what Dave said was really good. One of the things I do say in the video is you should set goals before the game and then reflect on those goals after the game. And then just reflect on the game in general. And it depends on what type of person you are. I don't reflect on my games right after the game. I usually do, like, walk the dog or go for a run or something when I actually have like a collected mind where I'm not going to tilt or like blame other people. And you just kind of have to find what works for you. Like, writing stuff down right after the game might not work for you. It may work for Adam, but you may just be somebody who's really, really, really upset. You may be someone who needs to, like, go for a walk and then write stuff down. Just kind of try and find what works. But setting goals is good, and then reflecting on them.
If that doesn't work for you, or if you're having trouble, like, reviewing your replays where you're like, I don't understand, I don't see what I'm doing wrong, then give it a day or 2 and then watch your replay when you're not emotionally invested in it and you're not justifying. And you can't necessarily remember what was going through your head, because it's really easy when you're in-game to justify what you're doing. But I can't tell you how many times I've watched a replay a couple days later and been like, wow, that was a lot of free poke. I don't know what I was thinking. Or why am I in top lane CSing when my team is in bot lane taking dragon or something like that? And you always have a reason in game, but it's not necessarily a good reason.
But if you're winning, keep up the momentum, because you got the right attitude, hopefully.
There's some people, too, that are like intrinsically motivated, and they just always want to get better, and they're going to reflect on their mistakes right away, and so on and so forth. And some people aren't. Some people are I can't talk, but you know what I mean, motivated, and they really need somebody else to tell them. So, like, if you're really struggling with this and you are looking at a replay and you can't figure it out, maybe hearing it from someone else is good. I got stuck for a while, and honestly, I would have stayed stuck if I didn't hear it from somebody else that I wasn't as good as I thought I was.
We have a Patreon tier to help with that.
Yeah, $25.
We do.
Yeah. There was a guy to piggyback off a horse. There was a guy we played with. He got nicknamed the Jewel Crafter because we played ranked 5s with him, and we went 5-0 that week. And the dude was playing against diamonds the entire time, and he was wrecking diamonds. Like, the dude, he was silver 3 when we played with him, right? And we got done with all 5 of those games, and we were like, dude, you're pretty good. You should, you're doing great. You held your own, this kind of thing. So you had your own, you did great. Next thing I know is 3 weeks. I think it's like 3 months later, maybe 2. The dude's platinum 5 because he heard from us that he's good, because somebody actually had confidence in him. So if you're out there and you need confidence, I promise you, you're more than likely better than you think. And what I will tell you to do is something. We don't give free replay reviews away, but if you want to drop a replay onto the T-Force Network board, someone might take a look at it. I'm not telling you that we're going to take a look at it. We're going to give it to you at the level of the Patreon. But if you feel that you need somebody else to take a look at your replay, drop it on there, because somebody else out there might take a look at it for you. Now, it's not going to be a monthly thing. I'm not. It's just feel free to drop something on there and say, hey, could someone take a quick look at this and tell me what did I do wrong in the first 5 minutes? So.
Yeah, no, I think that is good advice. Set goals. If you can't figure it out, have somebody else help. Even if it's not the Patreon, there are so many people who are willing to help you in this community, in any community. And T-Force Reddit, T-Force channel on game. I would check both of those things out.
Share that list, Adam, and put it maybe in the description or something, because our listeners can see it. But I want to see it.
Okay.
Yell at us on
game
Twitter. Do whatever you got to do to get in contact with people.
Yeah,
we will respond.
We're all on Twitter.
Well, the big thing, I do want to point this out, something, because Deadstock says, why do you guys have to get paid for everything? And the answer right there is time is money. It's not so much that we won't want to do everything for free. It's that when you start getting 100 people tossing stuff at you, how do you justify
all of that money goes back into the network?
None of us have seen it even.
None of us have pocketed any of that money.
Literally
that'd be
zero.
nice, wouldn't it?
Like we do this all. We're volunteering to you guys because we want to make you better. We want to help you, and we learn a lot in the process. We legitimately, we've made jokes about how we get paid. Someone sent in an email a couple years ago about how much we get paid or something
podcast
like that.
money.
we don't. There's no the podcast money goes back to investing in microphones, investing in things to make the podcast better. It all goes back to you guys. We've done RP giveaways. We've done, that's where that money goes. Don't for a second think that we take it home.
And you know what? The paid replays.
I was going to say that
the paid replays put pressure on the reviewers as well to do a really good job. Something for free, just be okay, here's the advice, blah, blah, blah. You can get that from a friend. Great. Get that from a friend, somebody else to watch if it's somebody else, a fresh set of eyes, like Orts was saying, to get you unstuck, that's great. But if you're looking for a little bit more in-depth and, you want to support the podcast because you're fans, go ahead. Throw us a couple of ducats and we'll actually be pressured to review it
That's probably Horse. Actually, I think it's mostly Horse that's been reviewing most of those replays because he does 5 or 6 of them in a row. So he's like, do you have a bunch of them? Yeah, here you go. Here's everything that came in my email.
To put that into perspective, Horse is a master's level player. If you go get master's level coaching somewhere, it costs quite a bit of money. It costs $25, $30.
It's literally the same price. I'm doing you're supporting the network and you're getting you're basically you're going to Walmart and you're buying a watermelon for the same price, but you're supporting Pone's watermelon beer at the same time.
I actually have watermelon beer. Do you want to go see it? We can go for a ride. Look.
Oh god. So instead of paying some random master's level player, you don't know where the money is going to. You're supporting them as a person or whatever. That's fine. But instead, you're supporting the community so that we can help everybody else get better at this game.
And another piece of the whole Patreon thing from the get-go is any of the money that we make is just going to be pumped into coming out and meeting people who want to meet us at Summoners Con or any other event. I know a couple people are going out to MSI. We're just using that money to give more back out to our listeners.
And you don't
because we love you guys.
God, I want to rant.
Listen to our podcast.
I want to rant
get a lot
right
of
now.
Cool free content too, so maybe that's enough. Maybe that'll be enough. Hopefully, it is.
Can I listen? If you want more out of us and you want free shit, go find somebody else. I already give you 4 podcasts, free D&D lessons. I give you a free TeamSpeak. I give you a place to talk. I give you a place to answer free questions. I give you free shit all the time. If you want more from me and you want anything else, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to tell you. If you want more, I can't give you any more. I'm sorry this turned into the end of the show soapbox session of talking about money and shit. I had no intentions of that, but anybody who doesn't see the light at the end of the forest or the trees, or light at the end of the tunnel, any of that stuff, you know what? Delete my goddamn RSS feed from your phone because I don't want you as a listener.
Even some people, we've gotten a lot less of it lately, but when we first started Patreon, people complained about the Champ Select podcast and things like that. But if you think about it, that was our way of giving back to you guys because most of you donated anyway. We got donations all the time. It was an extra thing for us to do for you. And that, if you think about how much content goes into one Champ Select podcast, that's hours of research that Cereal Box and I do. And then you have masters and challengers level players tell you things that you can't find on a guide anywhere else.
People forget
that's invaluable.
That for a 1-hour show, way more than an hour's worth of work goes into it. It's one of those.
All right. Listen. We are soapboxing so hard. This last 5 minutes of the show has just been nothing but hardcore soapboxing.
Everybody's
I am with you guys, and I want to stand here and scream and yell and I just did, and we're done. All right, people get it. The people at the end of the show, they totally get it. Like we
I love how you got aggressive as fuck and then cut everybody else.
it's because we've been doing it for 5 minutes, and I said my piece because I was mad at
Adam's gotta go write down
somebody.
his feelings in his league journal.
Yeah.
I will say though that I am
leave
standing in front of.
diary.
I am sitting in front of 5 different lights right now, and I'm sweating my balls off because
we
it's so
can see
fucking
it.
hot.
It's a league diary, and it has a key on it. And that key it's the color of diamond to motivate him. No? Alright.
And Adam,
I'm gonna scream at this. All right, you know what? I gotta go rage some people. Listen, if 285 episodes is enough for you for loving to do it, I don't know what to tell you. So, guys, there's also something else you should go check out on our T-Force Network subreddit, and that's Chris Alphanar is giving away 5 free lessons of site coaching, and I've taken one lesson.
we just said that if you want more free shit, here we go. More free shit. 5 free coaching lessons.
Well, it's not really
Or-
free. It's donation based because
Yeah,
that's because you're donating for Chris's time because Chris
Yeah.
is a family man who also needs to it. But
He's the greatest.
yeah, just for a small donation for your time, and it's also because like the donation means you'll take it seriously because we don't want to give you free shit. Like I don't know, a horse could probably tell you horror stories about people he's coached and that they just think that they're better than not. That they don't pay for it. They think they're
Otherwise,
better
it
than
would
with
be
the
9.
free license they're getting, right?
I mean, they aren't receptive and just they think that because I'm Masters, there's a secret to carrying where the game has a lot of small interactions that you just need to learn to do. But I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, just for a small donation of $10, you will get 5 lessons of site coaching. Chris will walk through a whole series of stuff with you, and you're kind of getting a glimpse into by talking to me because I started my first one this last week with him because I was just curious what he was giving. So I said, "Do it to me," because I want to see what you're going to give to the people that listen to the show. And some of the stuff I talked about was in part of that first lesson. It's really going to help you get a better mindset into ranked and really help you get over ranked anxiety if you have it, or it's going to help you have a better understanding of how to cope with losses or how to deal with winning while coping with losses, etc. So again, that's on the T-Force Network subreddit. You'll see it pinned at the top. It says Chris Alphanar is giving away. Go sign up, put your name in. We'll pick 5 people.
Push your mental ability to the next notch.
Yeah.
Don't look
on
at it
that
as
ladder.
paid either. Like, look at it as Pona's giving you a coupon here. Because if somebody has a master's degree in psychology, $10 is like such a ridiculous
Right.
bargain.
Yeah, you're getting a deal.
This is a coupon. It's not more paid stuff.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much just a coupon. And like I said, all that money is actually going to go back to Chris because I want to make sure that he's taken care of for his time. That's 5 hours at $10. The dude's making less than the dude's making $1.50 an hour or whatever. $2 an hour.
Solid, man. Solid.
$2 an hour. There you go.
Is that why you're stuck at rank 15?
Yeah, that's why I'm stuck at rank 15. No, I'm stuck at rank 19 right now. I'm on I can't get out of rank 19. I'm so bad at this game. I'm terrible. I love it. I'm not even mad that I'm bad. I know I am.
Adam, I don't even have a good deck.
I know. I go and beat heroic. What was it? General Drac today because I looked up a deck with Kel'Thuzad.
Kel'Thuzad.
And the bug where if you put Kel'Thuzad behind a taunt minion, the minions won't attack you. The AI won't attack if you have Kel'Thuzad behind a taunt minion. So I just went and beat it.
To cheat?
Yeah, no, it's just a bug in the AI. That's how they told you to beat it on heroic because he gets 2 mana for your 1 mana. Okay, listen, that's how you fucking do it. And I was like, I'm gonna do this because I'm bored. And Cheer was like, I can't believe you had a deck built around that. I'm like, I've got all this shit from just playing the game. I haven't dumped any money into it. Except for the $50 I dumped into the
Yeah,
TGT.
that's the straight line.
No,
You're
but I haven't
such a
got those
liar.
cards yet. Okay, I'm gonna get all
Yeah,
these
Black
cards,
Black
and I'm not gonna
Black.
know what to fucking do with them. I'm gonna be like, Horse, help me build a deck. He's gonna be like, fuck you. Pay me $50.
Next time on the Hearthstone podcast.
Yeah. All right, guys. The scene has been all fucked up for like 10 minutes, and I'm sweating my balls off. So, thanks, guys. That's episode number 284 of the Soapbox Podcast. We'll see you all next week.
See ya.